Welcome to our series on starting a business. One of the first questions I ought to ask you at this point, if you're contemplating starting your own business, is what are you thinking? Seriously, starting a business is very tough. And according to the statistics of the Small Business Administration, over 50% of all businesses will fail after 4 years or within 4 years of startup. It's a tough statistic, and I know that you don't want to be that statistic, but it can happen. I own several businesses, and I have owned some of which have done well and some have not done very well at all. One failed completely through no fault of our own. There are sometimes curves thrown at you that you can't expect. But for the most part, if we plan well, the chances of success are high. But we have to ask the question, why do you want to get into business in the first place? Are you escaping the corporate world? Do you have a product or an idea that you think is absolutely wonderful that everybody in the world is going to love? It may be true and it might not be true. Your idea of a good product may not be the same idea as the consumer. So we're going to talk about reality in this series and talk about reality as it relates to my reality as a business owner, a multiple business owner, and talk about some of the things that you need to be thinking about before starting your own business. Now, of course, you have passion and you have energy and you have a dream that you want to accomplish, and those are all very good things. In this series, we'll explore how to make those things become a reality and some of the major things that are necessary to pull that off. We're going to stay at the 10,000 foot level, however, because there's a lot of detail underneath what I'm going to share with you that needs to be explored, which is impossible to do in a video series of any kind. So I recommend that you go through the entire video series. They aren't very long, but they're long enough to give you enough information so that you can decide for yourself whether going into a business is a good idea for you. Now, one of the things that we need to talk about right from the start is the idea of owning a business and what that means to you personally and potentially to your family. I've known a lot of people who have romanticized the idea of owning their own business to the point where they dream about having flexible work hours and the ability to have a better lifestyle and maybe even a shorter work day. And all of that's possible at some point, but probably not. You can expect that you'll be essentially a slave to your business for the first 2 to 3 years. It takes a lot of work to make a business successful. In fact, you might work 10, 12, 15, even 18 hours a day on some days because you're going to be doing the job of 2 or 3 people before you can afford to hire someone. And if you can afford to hire someone, it's probably because you have found funding somewhere, which you ultimately will have to pay back. So you also have debt service that you have to consider, which means that you'll have to bring in even more revenue to cover both the debt service and your salary and the salary of other people. And that requires some time and time for your business to build and for people to get to know who you are. Even if you have the world's greatest service or product, something that everyone has to have, it doesn't go viral on its own. It takes time for people to find out who you are and takes an enormous amount of energy and resources to spread the word. That said, it is possible to succeed. And I don't want you to get the idea that I'm down on owning a business. I'm not. I love it. I've worked for myself most of my life. But the reality is that owning a business requires some essentials. So let's talk about those. First of all, you need to examine your motives, need to examine your personality. Are you the kind of person that can take care of a lot of details, or are you better with the good ideas, but executing those ideas is really weak for you? If that's the kind of person you are, then you won't succeed unless you have other people taking care of the details and executing the plan and the great ideas that you come up with. So, are you a detail-oriented person? Are you creative? Are you someone who is devastated by a setback? Or are you someone who can push through it and know that on the other side you're going to be successful? You have to have enough drive to carry you past the obstacles and be creative enough to get around those obstacles. It's also important, and every entrepreneur or potential entrepreneur that I talk to, I advise to have 6 months to a year's worth of savings in the bank. Your business won't be successful from day one. It takes a while. And the likelihood of you generating enough revenue to support yourself in the first year is fairly low. And so you need money that you can keep putting back into the business, that you can use to pay those who provide services to you, including your employees if you have any. And all of that comes before you get paid. It's only fair that you take care of others before you take care of yourself. And that's certainly not what people going into business think about to begin with, but that's how it works. And so having that savings account is very important, and having enough to fall back on, or having another income in your family that can support you while you're building your business. All of those are essential. It's also important to have a very good plan. A good business plan will include a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What are your strengths really? What are the strengths of the business potentially? What are the opportunities that you face? That's good as far as fulfilling your dreams. But then what are your weaknesses? What will keep you from being successful as you want to be? And what are the threats? And among those are ease of entry into the market. Is your product unique enough that for someone else to duplicate it and bring it to market, it's very difficult? Then you have a higher chance of being unique and therefore heard and absorbed by the market and becoming popular with the consumer than if yours is simply a commodity, something that everybody else does, everyone else has, and it's very easy to duplicate if somebody wanted to. You have to keep in mind that some of the larger companies that have a lot of resources could very easily duplicate your idea with enough variance to make it their own, and where do you go from there? It leaves you essentially holding the short end of the stick. So those are some things that you need to think about. Having a very good plan in place that shows how you'll finance yourself, what you think your revenues will be, and have that based in reality, because a plan that is just a wish list is not a strategy, and you won't go anywhere with it, frankly. So those are a few things that you need to think about. We'll explore many more things in this video series. So I can say this: if you go through the entire series and you still feel that you can succeed given everything that we've talked about, then the chances are that you will. And so why not go after your dreams? Just do it with a dose of reality and a sense of determination to get it right from the start. Doing that will increase your likelihood of success. So go out and make it happen.